Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Beyond the Whistle, a sports show located in Boise, Idaho. Each episode, we're going to be bringing you all the latest news about your favorite sports from the professional, collegiate, and local levels. We will be your hosts throughout the season. I'm Andrew Vincent.
I'm Christy Amstutz.
And I'm Alex East.
On this week's episode of Beyond the Whistle, we're bringing you Super Bowl reactions, NBA trade deadline news, and the biggest storylines from the Olympics.
As Andrew said, we've got a lot of exciting news to cover today, so I think we should just jump right in. What are you guys' reactions from the Super Bowl? Alex, I know you've got Ohio blood in you, so I just wanted to check in with you, make sure you're doing okay, see how that's going.
I'm actually not a Browns or a Bengals fan at all. I'm actually a Denver Broncos fan, so totally, completely different, but there are some Ohio State players that we do have who were in the Super Bowl. Super happy for Justin Fuller out of Ohio State, so very happy for him.
Yeah.
Well, I was super bummed because I remember on episode 2 we were talking about who we wanted to win, and
Yes.
I really wanted the Bengals to win.
Really?
But yes.
I felt like Matthew Stafford really deserved a ring. I mean,
100%.
he is a great quarterback
Yeah.
who got stuck with the Lions franchise for 12 years, and he got to finally win a ring.
That was
Joe
the one.
Burrow will
yeah,
have lots of
that was
time.
the one silver lining that I was like, okay, Matthew Stafford, I'm happy for you, but
I don't think I realized I was rooting as hard for the Rams as I was until they actually won, and then I was like, oh, I think I'm happy about this.
Yes.
But it was fun to see Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald,
Absolutely.
all of them get a ring.
yeah.
OBJ after the season he had and what he
Yeah.
went through, and then getting injured and still getting a ring.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
definitely exciting.
So let's talk about our Super Bowl MVP, Cooper Kupp himself.
Yeah.
What a story that is.
Insane. He's insane, and I think we talked about it a little bit last episode, but the fact that you give him a great quarterback and he's a great receiver
Yeah.
because he's put in a position where he can succeed.
He had one of the best offensive seasons
Ever.
of all time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as a
he's
wide
tied
receiver.
with Jerry Rice for second place with 22 receiving
Yeah.
yards, receiving touchdowns on the season.
Yeah.
And he
With
had the winning touchdown in the game.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Which was
With that being
insane.
said, do you think that he was deserving of the Super Bowl MVP or
Over Aaron Donald.
either Aaron Donald or maybe not Matthew Stafford because he did have those 2 interceptions, but yeah, maybe
I
Cooper
do.
Kupp or Aaron Donald.
I
I
do.
do.
100%. I
Especially
think Cooper
after
Kupp.
the season that he had. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
He has the league record of 178 catches and 2,425 receiving yards in a
Yeah.
single season. So
Yeah.
very, very much deserving of that.
Definitely a great way to cap it off, I would say, in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So,
And while Matt Stafford did have 2 interceptions, I think he played really well. That no-look pass on that last drive.
That's a signature. Too.
that was
signature-
nasty.
It was so good, and the different angles that we saw of it after the fact, it was
Yeah.
just insane to see. And so I think Matt Stafford played really well, disregarding his 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
But he played well.
I want to talk about Joe Burrow because as much as I don't think he did anything to lose the game, I also don't think that he really did anything to win the game. I mean, his 2 big catches, one of them was just an incredible catch by Jamar Chase, and the
Yeah.
other one was, in my opinion, an offensive PI.
Yeah.
Yeah, after
So-
looking at it, it was definitely.
So I really don't think that Burrow had the game that everyone was expecting him to have.
I agree. I would agree with the statement. He didn't do anything to lose, but he also didn't do
Anything to win.
anything to win. He also got injured, during the
Absolutely.
game.
Yeah.
So that's something I didn't think about. But he was 22 of 33 for 263 yards, threw 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions. So I'd say he was more accurate than Matt
Absolutely.
Stafford.
But there were
not
no
as,
risks.
Yeah, no.
In his defense, I will say he went through the postseason and had the most sacks
Oh yeah.
Oh,
in the
I'm pretty
entire
sure
postseason as a quarterback to even
It
get
was
to the Super
40,
Bowl.
somewhere around 44, something like that.
Maybe.
But I'm pretty sure what he had, if you combine like a bunch of, I think it was Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and another quarterback, all their sacks combined in the postseason, he still beats them. So
I think the Bengals definitely are wanting to focus on their offensive line moving
Yeah.
into the years forward because they've got all the pieces, you
Well,
know. They've got the weapons on offense. Yeah. They strengthened their defense last offseason.
Yeah.
So I think they need to look at the offensive line.
They skipped the O-line in this draft to get Jamar Chase, which ended up working out. At the same time, that is definitely one of the worst O-lines in the NFL going against one of the best defensive lines and the defensive players
So you got them triple teaming Aaron Donald throughout half the game, and then you have Von Miller on the other side, who arguably is one of the best outside linebackers in football.
Yeah.
So that's definitely not an easy.
And how long do the Bengals seriously want to leave their young quarterback unprotected like that?
He's going to get hurt eventually.
I mean, he already did last season, and then he gets hurt again in the Super Bowl. Yep. So I think the Bengals, if they want to have the future that they're looking to have, will need to strengthen that this offseason.
100%, because that's where actually most injuries happen for quarterbacks, because you're surrounded by a bunch of 6'5", 6'6", 300-pound guys falling down on your leg. That's how you know.
Definitely. Still pretty incredible that with that offensive line, they made it all the way to the Super Bowl.
Well, think about it. Literally 2 minutes left in the game, they were winning.
Yeah.
With that all being said, they were still winning the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still.
I think I will say I was a fan of the Bengals this offseason, this postseason, but I will say I think they got some gifts. They played the Titans. Ryan Tannehill had 3 interceptions. Yeah. They played the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes threw an interception at the end of the game.
But we can't say the Chiefs is easy to go against.
No, absolutely not. But I'm saying I think they did get some gifts throughout this postseason, but that's not to say that they're not a worthy team of being in the Super Bowl.
Maybe you're saying more chance luck than whether or not they can go and run that back again another year.
That I
we'll
think
see.
Is kind of the big question. I don't think that they'll be able to run it back next year, but
it's going to be interesting.
I think the AFC is really fun to watch.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. They got a lot of good young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So if we want to transition into the NBA trade deadline, there's obviously a lot that's been happening. A lot of trades. So Christy, I want to hear a little bit, and Andrew, about who you guys think the biggest winners and losers are after this trade deadline.
I don't even know if I would say it's like a winner and loser, but that Nets-Sixers trade was insane.
That was huge.
Yeah.
I know. There was a lot of talk about that going into, I would say, the trade deadline, with kind of rumors of James Harden not being as interested with the whole Kyrie situation and whatnot. You know, with the rumor of that being, the case, they decided to make the trade. They have Ben Simmons. Now, the Sixers get James Harden, Paul Millsap. Nets get Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. So they got a haul. Personally, I think the Nets won this trade because I know that there's a lot of shade being thrown Ben Simmons' way, but he is like a phenomenal player that I think fits in perfectly with the Nets.
Well, and I think when we're discussing there's a lot of shade being thrown Ben Simmons' way, there's also a lot of shade being thrown James Harden's way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I'm a James Harden fan at all.
I
think
either.
he's a cancer for teams.
It's been proven that he is. He's a player who's constantly getting injured, and who's to say if it's not real injuries, but he's a very negative impact to teams. He constantly has negative opinions about every team he's played for. He did it with the Rockets, he did it with the Nets, and now he's moving to another team.
Well, even OKC, where all of this started with Russell Westbrook. I saw somebody on Twitter say, when James Harden gets to the Hall of Fame, who's going to induct him? Because he's made so many bad relationships, and I think it's interesting. When does it end? When does he finally find a team that he's...
Well, he's got to make this one work, because he's played with Chris Paul, he's played with Kevin Durant, he's played with Kyrie,
Russell
Westbrook, tons of Hall of Famers, and has not gotten it done. So this is... I think this will probably be his best fit, because Joel Embiid, that pick and roll between James Harden and him.
And this is the best player that Joel's going to be playing with.
Exactly. So
this is going to be his. So I mean, that could be a deadly combo, both of them. But I'm interested to see how that relationship.
I think it will be a deadly combo. Some people have been comparing it to Shaq and Kobe, and I wouldn't go that far yet.
No. Definitely not.
Definitely
I would not say that.
But I think it does offer a good big and guard, situation relationship.
100%. I think that, honestly, the Eastern Conference playoffs or the finals will be probably the Sixers and the Nets, because I think both teams got better with those trades. I think that Ben Simmons is a better fit on the Nets than James Harden, because Ben Simmons, when you have 3 prolific scorers like James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant, it's hard to get everyone the shots and keep those egos happy. So I think removing James, putting in Ben, who's just all he has to do is play good defense, layups and dunks, and pass it out to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Never hit a three.
Never doesn't have to shoot if he doesn't want to. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, time will tell.
I think you're right. I think both teams won the trade.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to see how that Eastern Conference ends up.
I kind of want to talk about a team that I feel as though kind of lost, the Washington Wizards.
Oh, yeah.
So they got Porzingis.
Gave up Dinwiddie.
And my question is, do we think that that's enough to keep Bradley Beal? Because
I personally don't.
His free agency is looming right now.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to lose him.
I think Bradley Beal reminds me of Damian Lillard, like just a guy that really is loyal to the city that drafted him.
Yep.
And I totally respect that about players. I personally don't get the whole loyal thing because franchises aren't loyal to the players, in my opinion. Like, they'll trade you at the drop of a hat. But with your question, I don't think it is enough. I think Kristaps is kind of a player that has a lot of talent and potential, but hasn't been able to even stay on the court, really.
Yep.
So I don't think it's enough, personally,
Injury.
in my opinion. Yeah.
Constant, yeah.
And unfortunately for the Wizards, we haven't seen them be major contenders. I mean, they've been to the playoffs a few times as a lower seed, but haven't really made a bunch of waves in that Eastern Conference. So does Bradley Beal want to go somewhere where they're going to have a commitment to winning?
Yeah.
The Lakers.
Andrew?
I wish.
Lakers.
No,
I wish.
no,
Fingers
no.
crossed.
I wish.
No.
I wish. But honestly, that was a team, the Lakers, that never made any trades, which was a big rumor. Are they going to trade
And the
Russell
Knicks
Westbrook and the
also
Knicks
as well, which people were very surprised about. But their performance, them and the Knicks both, have been very disappointing this season for fans on both ends.
Yeah.
So what's
not at all what it was expected to be.
What's weird to me is that I was a very disappointed Lakers fan on trade deadline day because I thought, okay, we're going to go out here, we're going to make some big moves, get us back into that rather than like the playing game, we're going to be up higher.
Yeah.
That didn't happen, quite obviously. But we played the Warriors right after trade deadline, almost beat the Warriors. I mean, LeBron had a free throw to tie it, which...
Yeah,
anyways.
I was watching that game.
But we played better. I think we started playing better, and then we just beat the Utah Jazz a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
So while we didn't make any big moves or big trades, I think that our team is starting to play better, and I'm very, very cautiously optimistic about the Lakers. And who knows, maybe they get someone in the buyout market. Goran Dragic is someone on their list. Also, Dennis Schroeder. Don't know how that.
I know, bring Dennis back. Honestly,
The
I would be
Celtics
optimistic.
giving him up, I just can't.
Yeah.
The Celtics have just not made some great decisions with that.
Yeah, but you guys are on the up and coming.
We're doing
right now, yeah.
pretty well, actually, right now.
Yeah.
We are winning good games, important games. So
Yeah.
I'm excited with where we're going.
But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think you should be optimistic though with LeBron at the helm because he's obviously still playing at an MVP level.
And while AD just got hurt, he was
they-
playing well. So we'll see. I think the NBA, we're getting into All-Star break. So to see how teams come out of All-Star break will be interesting.
I also just wanted to quickly bring up Portland traded most of their young talents. They also traded CJ McCollum to the Pelicans, and they only got a few young players and draft capital. So do we think that they're saving up cap space to bring in another superstar with Dame?
Who's coming to
I don't
Portland?
know.
I have so many questions
That
about
trade
Portland.
made no sense to me, in my opinion.
But that's why the question is, are they trying to create enough cap space to bring in someone big?
If that's
play
their
alongside
plan,
Dame?
then it's gonna fail. Because no one's coming to Portland
No
as
one's
a
going to
free agent,
Portland.
and Dame is out of there. I think
Yeah.
he's gonna go to the Knicks personally. He wants to. I mean, obviously he could go to probably a more winning franchise, but I think he wants the limelight of New York. I could see it.
And maybe he turns around the Knicks. We'll see. I think free agency is going to be a big event in the NBA this offseason. So
Absolutely.
excited for that.
It's always fun
as
to
well.
watch. It's a little bit of drama, you know.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah. All right, you guys want to move on to Olympics?
Absolutely.
Let's do
Chrissy,
it.
want to lead us off?
I love the Olympics, you guys.
Me as well. Winter too.
Winter
Awesome.
too, summer, I love all of it. I watch constantly. But the Olympics have been a bit controversial
Absolutely.
Yeah.
this year. Unfortunately, in figure skating, we've seen one of the biggest scandals of all time. Kamila Valieva, a 15-year-old from Russia, had a positive doping test. Drug test. It was in December that she tested positive. Her case goes through all this wishy-washy trials and all this stuff, and finally she's allowed to compete as an individual. And the backlash that came from that was crazy
Absolutely.
to see.
Comparing
And
her to
As a part of
Shakari.
Russia's team.
So Russia right now is not technically Russia.
Okay.
They're the Russian Olympic Committee, ROC, because they already had a doping scandal quite a few years ago. And so that's kind of what people are bringing into question is that, well, if there wasn't any consequences last time because all the athletes are still able to compete, they're just under the Russian Olympic Committee rather than Russia, what's going to be any different this time? Now that there's a doping scandal, there was no repercussions.
Yeah.
She still got to compete.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she was the heavy favorite for the gold medal, ended up in 4th, had a terrible free skate.
Yeah.
And so, fortunately for those skaters, they will get a medal ceremony, whereas
Yeah.
the team competition, they won't get a medal ceremony anymore. But it's hard to root for this idea of the Olympics.
That it's all like on a level playing field.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
The saddest part for me is that she's 15 years old.
She's 15 years old,
Yeah.
and there's no adult in her corner.
Absolutely.
But-
I mean, and this is the talk always for athletes competing at such high levels at such young ages. A lot of times they are forced to do things that no teenager should be forced to do, and they're just, especially in gymnastics and figure skating and all those. I mean, doping has been
Yeah.
a serious thing
Yeah.
for those sports in particular. So it's
And
really
she's
sad to see.
15. That's
I
important
know.
to note.
Yeah.
And the skating camp that she comes from in Russia has long been since criticized for their handling of young Russian girls
Yeah.
because most of their girls can only compete in one Olympics because they're injured before they're 20 years old and can never skate again, retiring at the age of 18, 17, 19. Such an early age because they're injured, they're malnourished.
Absolutely.
It's been said that they're only allowed to drink water at competitions, not even eat anything. So the IOC definitely needs to investigate not only this doping case, but
the overall.
the overall of it,
Yeah.
and see who's at fault. Because right now, the only people getting punished is this girl, this 15-year-old
and
girl.
who's giving a 15-year-old girl?
Exactly.
That
Where did
She's
she?
just
She
going
didn't
with
get it
whatever,
herself.
yeah.
Somebody probably said, "Here's a vitamin. It'll
Yeah.
make you feel better."
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, that's a very, very sad story out of the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been unfortunate for figure skating. Figure skating has been my favorite sport of the Winter Olympics, so
Yeah.
to see it in this place. But on a better note, Nathan Chen, the American men's figure skater, won the Olympics this year. So we are so excited about that. He set a world record in the men's short program with a 1:13.97. So seeing him succeed after kind of failing 4 years ago in Pyeongchang was awesome to see for
Yeah.
figure skating.
Yeah.
So.
That's
Well,
awesome.
now I would love to get into my favorite Winter
Yes.
Olympic sport, snowboarding.
Snowboarding?
Incredible. Let's talk about Shaun White first.
Yes.
I mean, he has really shaped men's snowboarding for the U.S. for years.
And I would say the whole sport.
The
not
whole
even just the
sport, not
US.
even the U.S., but
Yeah.
just the whole sport, especially half pipe. I mean, and to think that he's also won medals in skateboarding is just
Yes.
absolutely ridiculous. But he's retiring after competing in 5 Winter Olympics. His first one was in 2006. Scotty James, who competed for Australia, who won silver in this half pipe competition, had a lot of words to say on his Instagram yesterday about how he would not be where he is today without the competition that Shaun White provided him
Yeah.
and the competitiveness and just growing up watching him. I mean, he posted a picture and he was probably 12 years old and Shaun White was like in his 20s.
Right.
Yeah.
And now they're competing against each other.
He paved the way.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
and it's
yeah.
it's very easy to say that Shaun White is the greatest of all time. And even seeing the scene after he had his last half pipe run
Yeah.
and all the medalists on the podium, like stood there and clapped for him just because of the legacy he has. I started tearing up at that too. So it was incredible to see. In his
Now
career.
I want to get into my girl, Chloe Kim.
Chloe Kim.
She is, I mean, Arielle Gold, who was originally one of the U.S. leading half-pipe snowboarders for women, has already admitted that Chloe Kim is the best women's snowboarder of all time. It's evident. The margin between her runs and the other female half-pipe snowboarders is huge. I mean, she took 22 months off to go to Princeton, this girl, and comes back in her first competition at Lax in Switzerland in the 2021 competition, and there was a 13-point margin between her and the girl in silver.
Wow.
I mean, she's absolutely incredible. She is a 6-time X Game gold medalist. She scored a 94 on her first run in the Olympics this year, which won her the gold. And she won her first Olympic medal at the age of 17, which was in 2018. And she was the first female to land back-to-back 1080s in that run.
Well, and I think what's so cool about Chloe Kim to see is that she's getting so much recognition.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so awesome to see these young female, athletes getting the recognition they deserve. She went to the Super Bowl. She was recognized, so it's awesome to see that people are realizing how amazing her feats are within the sports world and
As she
snowboarding world.
should be, because I
Oh,
can
she
tell
deserves
you,
it.
that is a true athlete.
Yeah.
You think if I were to go out there and try to do that,
Hey, I've actually tried
I'd
it.
be
I've tried
falling
it.
on my butt.
And she actually grew up snowboarding at my home mountain, Mammoth, which is really awesome too, to see someone from my area coming out there and doing what she's doing is pretty incredible.
Cool.
So, yeah.
All right. How about we move on to our local sports?
Very own Khalil Shakir. Yeah.
Yep. So we are going to be getting into more of our local sports by starting off with the path to the NFL, which is looking very promising for our very own Bronco, Khalil Shakir. Khalil participated in the Senior Bowl a couple weeks ago and definitely turned many, many heads with the way he played in practices. How do we think this affects his draft stock as we move into the combine season?
Shooting up.
Shooting up, baby. Yes, people are really excited about what Khalil did at the Senior Bowl.
Absolutely.
He didn't participate in the actual game. There was some news of an injury, a small injury or something like that. But he really showed out in practices, and people were enjoying what he was doing.
I read an article in Bleacher Report is actually comparing him to Cooper Kupp
Yes,
right now.
I saw that.
For how he's rising in his draft stock and because they are of similar size and weight class.
Yeah.
And not the fastest player out there, not the biggest player out there,
And
but
both coming from
so
Group of 5
technical.
schools.
Yes.
Technical and smart.
Very technical
Seriously.
and very smart. And he's starting to get looked at by a lot of NFL teams. I know the Jets are thinking about him. The Chargers are thinking about him. So this is
I hope he doesn't go to the Jets.
yes.
I hope that you can have Justin Herbert throwing the ball.
Heck
Oh,
yeah, I'll
absolutely.
take him on my Chargers.
Yes.
It's also really cool. I think people forget because he is coming out of a Group of 5, Boise State, and not some Power 5, SEC, big
Power 5 conference.
Yeah, Power 5
absolutely.
conference. But out of the whole 2022 wide receiver draft class, he has the highest PFF rank, grade. He has a 92, I think. 92. The next closest wide receiver in the draft from Kentucky has a 90.9. So he's this big name. Unfortunately, he did come up from a smaller school. But he played really well in college, and we're seeing his draft stock rise, and it's exciting for him and for Boise State fans.
I agree.
It's a huge win for Boise State, and it's going to give the school a lot of recognition because his name is moving up high. And I'd be interested to see how, in the combine, how he compares to the Jamison Williams and the Garrett Wilsons and the Chris Olaves.
Yes.
So I think it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, and it was cool that he got that invite to the combine after the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
I think people before the Senior Bowl were kind of had him in third round range, third or fourth, mid level, and now people are talking about maybe possibly second round, first round, end of the first
That'd
round.
be amazing if he could go first.
It would be incredible to see. So really excited to see where that lands him in the draft and where that lands him in an NFL team.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
always fun to see our Broncos on the
100%.
next level, yeah.
Next level Broncos, baby.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bronco sports, Christy, if you want to tell us a little bit about our women's gymnastics team and some of our star athletes.
Yes. So gymnastics is currently ranked 24th in the nation, which is really exciting for them. In gymnastics, the way it works for NCAA rankings is that it's not by like wins and losses like how basketball or football would be. It's based on like average scores. So yeah, they get a really, really, really good score in gymnastics. A team score is 198. The Broncos have been scoring 195, 196, and so that has them ranked number 24th in the nation, which is really exciting. Tonight, they have a meet against Utah State, which is, and they're 21 in the nation. So that'll be a good meet at Extra Mile if anybody wants to go out and see our Broncos take on Utah State. But I will say that if they lose tonight, it won't necessarily drop them in the rankings because they could score higher average, like their score, and move up, but still lose.
Yeah.
So that's what's important to note about gymnastics rankings. We've been really excited about certain gymnasts on our team. Emily Mullen-Hopt is ranked really well on the bars right now. She was number 1 in the nation for a while.
Wow.
Yes, which is
incredible.
really exciting. She hasn't scored below a 9.9 this year, which max score in gymnastics is a 10.
Wow.
So really exciting for her, and she'll probably get a spot to compete nationals as an individualist on bars, which is exciting. And then I would say the MVP so far this season has been Hope Maciado. She's the only gymnast on our team who's done the all-around, so bars, vault, floor, and beam, and she's been scoring really well. So gymnastics is really exciting at Boise State right now.
Yeah.
Again, they have a meet tonight, so.
And it's a really good opportunity, you know, for everyone to go out and support our female sports because they absolutely deserve the recognition for it. 24th in the nation is a huge deal, and we should definitely be out there tonight.
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
100%. Love gymnastics.
I know. I don't know much about it, so it's always good to...
Yeah, I'll give you all the information.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. All right, you guys want to move into our campus recap?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Okay, so since we last talked men's basketball, the Broncos are 3-2, but those 2 losses are to a couple of top teams in the Mountain West with Colorado State and Wyoming. The Broncos are sitting tied with Wyoming at the top of the Mountain West standings at 11-2. They have 5 games left with Utah State, San Diego State, UNLV, Nevada, and Colorado State all on the schedule.
On the other side of things, unfortunately for our women's basketball team, they are currently 4-10 in conference play and are sitting in the 9th seed out of 11 teams. They have games against Nevada, New Mexico, and San Jose State to finish off the regular season.
But on a more positive note, Broncos softball is off to its best start in school history after winning all 5 games to open its season last week. Broncos have given up 11 runs, their fewest through 5 games in school history. This weekend, they will be competing at the Cardinal Invitational in Texas and will face Omaha, UMass, the University of Texas San Antonio, and the University of Incarnate Word.
Men's golf finished runner-up in their first tournament of the spring and will look to continue their great play throughout the rest of the semester with 5 additional tournaments, including 4 in the month of April. Live scoring of those tournaments is always available through broncosports.com.
Okay, now it's time for our favorite part of the show, the 2-minute drill. So for y'all that don't know, I'd like to introduce you to it. It is what we like to call the 2-minute drill. And each episode, we will be putting 2 minutes on the clock and giving 2 of our hosts a sports topic to debate about. One of us will be the mediator, while the other will debate for 2 minutes, going back and forth, attempting to win the argument. Throughout the year, we'll keep track of how many points each of us has to see who the ultimate winner is. Today, our debate is going to be about what the biggest rivalry in sports is. With that being said, let's see who takes the win in our favorite game of the 2-minute drill. Here we go.
I'm excited too. So me and Alex are going to be debating.
We
this
are
week.
very excited about this one, okay?
We're very excited about this topic. So
Okay, so what do we got?
I've got Lakers and Celtics.
I've got Ohio State, Michigan.
Okay, we're gonna have 2 minutes on the clock. You guys are gonna have to convince me what's the better rivalry. So let's go. You guys ready?
Yep.
Do you guys want to flip a coin? Who starts? Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay, Chrissy,
Chrissy,
go ahead.
take the go. Okay, we're going.
Okay, so first of all, Ohio State, Michigan, not even professional sports teams.
Doesn't matter.
Lakers, Celtics, professional sports teams
Okay.
have met in the NBA championships 12 times.
Okay.
Each have 17 titles, which makes up 45% of NBA championship titles. The biggest names in all of sports have been a part of this rivalry. Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Jerry West, Kobe Bryant, Ray Allen. These are names that literally everyone on the planet knows and can recognize at the drop of a hat.
My argument right there. That's where I think the rivalry ends. The problem is a lot of the Celtics and Lakers rivalries are between individual players themselves. So let me show you
Absolutely
something. First of all, Michigan-Ohio State meets every single year, and most of the time it determines who's going to the Big Ten championship and who's even winning the Big
Because
Ten
their
championship.
conference isn't strong. They don't have a strong conference.
What do you mean? Ohio State, we just won the national championship in 2015.
Because no one else is in your conference.
No, we won the
Ohio
national
State, Michigan.
championship. Okay,
Yes.
but wait. Let me continue here. We meet every year. Normally it decides who wins the Big Ten. It is the biggest game. Viewing, we had in 2006 20 million views, whereas the most viewed Celtics and Lakers game was 3.51 million. Last year, Michigan-Ohio State, 16.95 million viewers. It is way more viewed. It is way more recognized. I
Absolutely
think
not.
Lakers and Clippers is a bigger rivalry now than Lakers and Celtics is.
Lakers and Clippers, when Kobe Bryant passed away, you saw the whole world mourn his loss. Even Celtics
absolutely.
fans. If somebody passed away, God forbid, from somebody, Michigan, Ohio State, would you see the same response?
No,
Absolutely
because
not.
that's how strong our hatred is.
No,
That
I'm
is how
saying
strong our
Ohio,
hatred
even
runs.
Ohio. But like, it is a worldwide, international phenomenon. Lakers, Celtics will never beat it. Biggest rivalry.
Okay, that was intense.
I think that was our most intense debate.
I think so too.
I think we
I
should
agree.
let our viewers know we're still friends.
we are.
Okay.
We still love each
Honestly,
other.
going into this, I'm a huge basketball fan, so I was leaning that way. But you'd make some really good arguments.
You can't
Adam,
say.
you-
I
say
am
anything.
gonna say, Chris, you want to?
Yeah! International.
No, just
yes.
because he's a Lakers fan, he doesn't like that I like
he's
the
not
Celtics.
a Lakers fan.
You almost convinced me when you brought up the viewership of, I think, the 20 million
Yeah,
or something
2006,
like that.
and last year
it's
16.
not even a professional sport.
But
Why does that matter? Why does that matter?
But I
Well,
think that there's more history with the Lakers
thank
and
you.
Celtics.
Actually,
I think
thank
it
you.
goes.
Starts earlier, Ohio State, Michigan, but I was
Okay.
gonna bring. I should have brought it up.
Should've brought it
Darn.
up. Well,
Next time.
regardless, I think we're all sitting tied at one debate.
We
apiece.
are.
Even though
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers won MVP, I think he
did.
won the debate. Whatever.
I'll take
We
it.
are.
I got one comment for me, so I won.
So tied one apiece. Let us know at home if you think somebody else won that debate.
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. And we'd love to hear who you think the biggest rivalry in sports is. So if you can comment below, we'd love to see your responses. We want to send a thank you to all of you for joining us for this episode. Finally, we couldn't do it without the help of our producer, and so to each of them, we send all of our gratitude. I'm Alex East.
I'm Andrew Vincent.
And I'm Christy Amsteds. Join us next time on Beyond the Whistle for all your sports news needs.